Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler. This time we take a look at another of those oddball items known as screeners. That's right, something that is put together not necessarily for consumers to check out, but to be handed off to those who make decisions in things like award ceremonies, or companies trying to figure out what they're going to put on their store shelves. In this case, it's an award version. Something that's not really meant to get into our hands, but does have a copy of a Star Wars film, and that sometimes will wind up on places like eBay to wind up getting into our hands. So, we take a look in this case at the screener for the Phantom Menace on VHS. You may recall that the Phantom Menace was not released on home video in the same year that it was in theaters. It was in theaters in 1999, and in 2000 it hit VHS, before hitting widescreen DVD in 2001 and full screen in 2002. Those VHS versions included a regular full screen version of the film in its regular cardboard slipcover, or you could have gotten the same thing in a clamshell case, kind of a golden clamshell case, through Toys R Us, where you could have either bought it this way. I've seen some people say they bought this and then the package itself came with it, and they were able to just swap it out and put the tape from this into this case. But full screen in both of these cases, and if you wanted it in widescreen, you had to buy a special version of it known as the Widescreen Video Collector's Edition. That was this big old thing here. If you opened it up and took out the extra stuff, inside was a regular VHS case, a cardboard one with the widescreen version saying widescreen up there on the top. But the packaging looked similar, albeit not the same as that full screen. The image was handled differently, but still that black theme, the mall theme in the background, the Roman numeral going through the middle of the Star Wars symbol in the title, that sort of thing. Now, you may recall that on this version, which sometimes can be found on eBay with the tape taken out and none of the other extras with it, which was not a legitimate release, this was the only way it was released in the US in widescreen at the time, on this, at the beginning of the VHS tape, was a trailer for StarWars.com for the website, and then as you wrapped up watching the film, there was a special documentary called Filmmaking Has Turned a Corner, which is all about the making of Phantom Menace and the whole digital characters thing tied into it. But also in 2000, there were awards to be considered for the Phantom Menace, and a special screener copy of the Phantom Menace was released in widescreen, but not identical to this, which was then handed out to those who would make those type of decisions. That Episode 1 screener, which I was able to procure because an extra copy wound up in the hands of fellow Star Wars collector Matthew Fox, is this. This is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, with that poster image, right, with Anakin there, with the Vader shadow in the background. Okay. You then have on top that same logo. On the side, the logo, but also 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment, THX digitally mastered Lucasfilm, and the product number, right? Same thing on the other side. But then on the back, instead of having info about the film, it says, for your consideration, and then points out who is being nominated for the individual categories that they hope this will help convince the person getting it to vote for them to win the award. Man, I think I mangled that sentence. But in this case, it says, Best Sound, John Midgley, Gary Ridstorm, if I'm saying that right, or Ridstrom, Tom Johnson, Sean Murphy, Best Visual Effects, Rob Coleman, John Knoll, Dennis Murin, Scott Squires, Best Sound Effects Editing, Ben Burt, Tom Belfort. Then way down at the bottom, little 20th Century Fox logo, Lucasfilm, and the copyright, which does note 2000. So, a screener. Now, you pop this thing into your VCR, instead of playing the StarWars.com little preview thing, you get a note that this is a screener and what the purpose of this tape is. That note is this. Gotta love being able to digitize stuff from VHS, right? Now, after the film, there is no documentary. That whole Filmmaking Has Turned a Corner thing, it says on this package that it is a special behind-the-scenes documentary created exclusively for this release. And they meant it. It is for this release. It is not on the screener copy. The screener is just that warning, the film, and that's it. Now, what's interesting about this, though, I keep trying to show you the back of it for some reason. What's interesting about this, though, is that it's not really labeled as a screener on the tape, but there is a way to tell that it's a screener. In fact, at the time, Matthew wasn't even sure that this was an extra of the screener, or if somebody had maybe slipped a regular widescreen copy in, or what was going on. This is the tape. You look at the end, and it's printed here. The end does note it. It says SW1 Phantom Screener. Okay, and then all the individual numbers. You pop open the regular widescreen version of the Phantom Menace, right, this thing. Then that side says Star Wars 1 widescreen. Okay. If you look at the regular version, there's your logo. Big Star Wars, tiny Episode 1, no Phantom Menace listed at all, and then widescreen kind of stretched out all the way across with all the data underneath it, you know, copyright, FBI warning, and all that kind of stuff. The screener looks different. Little Star Wars, Big Episode 1, Phantom Menace is on there as part of the title, and widescreen is not stretched all the way across. So this is the screener, which you can also tell, of course, because when you put it in and play it, it's got the little screener note and has the end there. This is the regular. Put these side by side, screener and regular here. Okay, so the tapes look similar, but you can tell the difference by what's on the ends. You can tell the difference by how the logos are formatted. And you can tell if you pop it in because the retail one in widescreen has the documentary bit on it, has the StarWars.com trailer at the beginning of it, whereas the screener just has the quick little screener blurb, and that's it. Otherwise, it's the same film. It's exactly what you would have got on VHS buying it retail in 2000. It's just that this is an unusual, kind of rare version of the film to be able to find on VHS for your home video library. They pop up from time to time on eBay, so keep an eye out. You may be able to find a copy for yourself. They're not nearly as rare as some screeners are, but it is something you're probably going to have to keep an eye out for a while before one does pop up. They're rare, they're just not super, uber, duper rare, which I think is the proper terminology. So, to paraphrase Doc Brown when talking about the DeLorean, hey, if you're going to be watching the Phantom Menace and putting up with Jar Jar on VHS, why not do it with some style? And do it with the screener rather than the retail release. It'll turn some heads possibly when you pull this off the shelves. For anybody who actually knows what the original release looks like these days. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Matthew, for helping me procure a copy of this. And as always, may the Force be with the home video viewers.